Okay, if we can bring this meeting to order, Madam City Clerk, can we have Pastor Brady Rice please come forward from Faith Community Church, and then the Pledge of Allegiance will be done by Councilwoman Shelley Sanderson. Will everyone please rise and remove your hats? Pastor Brady.
First?
And then she'll, yes.
Okay. All right. Let me get the order up. I just wanted to share from Romans 13:8. Let no doubt and let no debt remain outside of, except the continuing debt to love one another. For whoever loves has fulfilled the law. And I know what Paul is talking about is not the Christianese stereotypical love. Jesus loves you and so do I. He's talking about a love that cares, a love that reaches out, a love that helps the community. And we thank God for this council and their desire to do what's right and what's best for this city. So let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this time. We thank you for these men and women who have dedicated their lives to serve their community. We thank you for all these men and women and children who have come tonight in support of what they need. And God, we ask you to be with this council and these participants tonight, that thy kingdom come, thy will be done in this meeting tonight on earth as it is in heaven, and that your plan and purpose would be fulfilled through these men and women tonight. And we give you all the praise and glory in Jesus' name, and everyone said.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Brady.
Thank you. Please join with me in the pledge to our flag. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam City Clerk, roll call, please.
Mayor Toohey,
Here.
Councilmember Herford,
Here.
Councilmember Sanderson,
Here.
Councilmember Sykes.
Here. Okay, we drop down to reports out of closed session. Mr. City Attorney.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. The record should reflect that the City Council convened for discussion of the items that are listed on the agenda under conference with labor negotiators, the various employee organizations and also unrepresented employees. There was no action taken. The matter has not been concluded and will continue after the completion of the open portion of tonight's meeting. That is my report from closed session. It's appropriate to continue with the open portion of the meeting.
Thank you. Changes to the agenda, Mr. City Manager.
There is an addendum to the report pertaining to item 10 on the restructuring of the city advisory commissions, and that's before you. It has to do with some clarification by staff on some of the language contained in the ordinance and not addressed in the staff report. So staff has provided you that memo. Deals with the sizing of the different commissions.
Thank you. If there's nothing else, we'll drop down to presentations. If we can please have Darlene Ferris please come down, the Water Conservation Manager for Suburban Water Systems. Darlene? Oh, these are good days. Ms. Ferris will be presenting the City of West Covina a check for $5,000 to be used for the construction of a new splash pad at Del Norte Park. The splash pad will include a full recirculating filtration system to reduce the amount of water used at this new city facility. Tentative schedule to open in July of 2012. So go ahead.
When I saw that there was so many kids here tonight, I said, oh, I'd love just a couple minutes to talk real quick. What I do for Suburban Water Systems are conservation programs, which I'm one of those that kind of says, try not to use too much water and, use it as efficiently as possible. Well, your city is doing something that actually uses water efficiently, and that's to build a splash pad in a park area for you kids to play. Sort of like your parents did in sprinklers when they were little. That I don't know how many of you have got to do that, but this is one of those things that, at least for me, brings back childhood memories. So we're happy to contribute and wanted to present the city with this check for $5,000.
That, please. We got a packed house. We'll try to get through this. The first item on the agenda is oral communication. If we can have a first speaker is Joe Conrad and Greg Tettle on deck. Joe? And Greg will be on deck. I know I've seen him somewhere.
I just let you know that I've coached over there for 14 years, and some of the things that over there are kids that are going to college because they start playing hockey there.
Is it on out there, guys? Go ahead. Now?
Okay, am I on now?
I'm sorry about that.
That's right. Some people don't want to hear me talk anyway, so. Like I said, I've been there for 14 years coaching. I started with my kids there. I coach now without my kids. There are kids that started there that are now playing college hockey. There's a program over there that I coach that there's a guy from East LA that goes around and picks up kids all over East LA and brings them out there. There's a very young program out there. And what Brian and Judy and Gil have done over there is very tremendous, because it's very much a family atmosphere. And I enjoy being there. I'm there every Friday and Saturday night. And I think that it'd be a shame not to let them continue to do it.
Thank you very much. Guys, and I greatly appreciate the enthusiasm, but to get through this, we need to show proper decorum in here and not clap. I know. I'm very sorry about that, and I appreciate the enthusiasm. They were cheering for you, Greg. And on deck is Forrest Wilkins.
Thank you for the time. I just kind of I didn't get to come to the last council meeting after you guys made your decision on selling the city property. And I just wanted to express my displeasure to it. And I think you lost a councilwoman over it. And I think that really the city needs, and the council people really need to think this over again. Because you're not making any money for this city. What you're basically doing is putting a Band-Aid over something that is, you have way too much debt. And what you need to do is think of the long-term future of what's going to happen and what you can do with the city property. And that's not one of them, of making any revenue for the city. Now, when the lady, the council member, read her speech, you could tell in her voice a trembling that she didn't want to say what she was saying. She didn't believe in it. And I don't believe in it. And I don't think you people believe in it. And the developer was well organized. She had her people in line to speak and everything else, which I've been to many council meetings, which you can attest to, Mike. And I've seen the speeches, and I've seen the developers come in here and pack meetings and lock it in. And I think that you people really need to think what you did, because I don't think it was for the betterment of this city for you to sell city property for just a short-term gain. It needs to be long-term when you people are thinking and doing city finances. And this is part of the reason this city got into the trouble that it got in. Redevelopment, I'm going to Sacramento tomorrow. We're doing the death of redevelopment and celebrating the death of it, and hopefully that it can be brought back into a different form. I'm not against changing, But what I am for, redoing housing and getting low-income housing and people into houses and building the city up. And also getting schools money, because that's where redevelopment killed the school money. We're now going to be getting 58% of the money instead of 6% of the money. So schools are going to benefit from this death of the redevelopment that Brown did. And I was very happy for that, and I hope that when we go up there tomorrow with Chris Norby and a few of the others, that we can make some big changes and put our input into it, and maybe bring it back to the other cities so that everybody can join in and maybe make some reasonable deals with redevelopment and not just blight everything. But I think you really need to reconsider what you guys did with the city property here, because what you did is sold off the city with no gain. And I think it was a bad deal. And you lost a council person over it, and you got a lot of people mad at it. So that's all I've got to say. Thank you very much for your time.
Forrest Wilkins is the next speaker. Carolyn Arndt is on deck. Carolyn, I know, there you are.
Good evening. I'm Forrest Wilkins. My wife and I have been residents of West Covina for 40 years come October. Last November, I addressed the council and expressed my outrage how Athens Trash Company took part in a political hit piece using a gun. Guns can be used to represent violence. As a policeman, let me share one incident. A gangbanger goes into a restaurant, shoots up the place. A 9-year-old girl takes one to the head. She dies. In my opinion, only a sick person would allow a gun to be used in a political hit piece. As a result of that hit piece, I started looking into Athens Trash Company business practices. A few city council meetings ago, Mr. Dennis Chapata of Athens Service addressed the council. Mr. Mayor, I think it would have been appropriate to have given a disclaimer before or after he spoke. Listen to what has been reported about the Athens Vice President. From August 2011, Temple City Life, which is Chamber of Commerce news publication. Mr. Chapeta participates in acquisitions, business strategies, lobbying, legislation, special projects, and manages the company's sales and marketing efforts. He is responsible for monitoring compliance with all municipal contract terms and regulated or legislated mandates. I think it is fair to say he is paid to maintain evergreen contracts, which are in reality infinity contracts. There is no justification for the city of West Covina to have an evergreen contract with Athens. 23 years ago, Athens was fined $500,000 for price fixing. Spots on leopards don't change. Councilwoman Sanderson, I would like to read a portion of your transcribed remarks from last council meeting. And there is a comment about $50,000 in 2 years. Well, I haven't taken a dime in 2 years, so just to make clear with that as well, and I just think that the hardest part of our job sometimes up here is to be dealing with inaccuracies. So I just wanted to take the opportunity to, from my seat, to express some clarification so that can be made clear. That $50,000 that I mentioned was monies given to councilpersons Lane, Armburst, Herford, Toohey, and Sanderson in the elections of 09 and 11. Total amount given by Athens companies and employees. According to the 460 form signed by, which appears to be signed by the treasurer of your campaign, I think it's your husband, and yourself, Through December 31, the following was given to your campaign by Athens Group and employees. September 20th, 09, Ronna Keeling III gave $500. Athens Company gave $1,000. Ronna Keeling, $500. Gary Clifford II, who is the Chief Operating Officer of Athens, gave $500. October 23rd, 09, Jack Arkelian Family, LLC, $990. October 26, 09, Legacy Property Holding Vincent, LLC, $990. October 26, 09, Athens Property Incorporated, $990. October 23, 09, Legacy Properties Holding, $990. Arkelian Real Estate, $990. Arkelian Sun Valley, $990. October 23rd, 09, Arkelian Salt Lake, $990. October 30th, Arkelian Silmar Real Estate, $990, totaling $10,420 to your campaign. I don't see anything inaccurate about those monies, since I took them from your 460 forms signed by you. It is a conflict of interest for West Covina City Council members to accept monies from Athens and let the Evergreen contract to
Excuse
continue.
me, Mr. Mayor, the speakers exceed their 5 minutes.
You need to wrap up.
Last sentence. Let's take the first step, eliminate the Evergreen contract, and move closer to competitive bidding. Thank you.
Thank you, Forrest. Carolyn Arnton, Elsie Messman is on deck. Elsie, I don't know where you went. Where's she?
Good evening. This is the perfect place for me to say what I'm going to say tonight. Surrounded by all of these children who use our library, who are getting hooked on books, and who enjoy that wooded hillside. Let me tell you that the hillside is saved, folks. An injunction was filed with the Superior Court of Los Angeles on February the 21st. It will be read by a judge prior to or on March the 21st. He has 30 days unless the city of West Covina asks for an extension. That is going to, for all intent and purpose for this time, save that hill. Now, one of the interesting things that I found as I did the research on this is I went to our planning commission after making an appointment, and I asked if I could pick up the plans that had been submitted for recording with the county. And lo and behold, they were not in CMG. They were in West Covina Westfield Mall. Now, what in the world were you going to do behind closed doors, with our mall? That's what was on the front. So I wanted to confirm that. I don't believe anybody anymore. And so I drove to Norwalk, and I picked up the forms that had been submitted by this city to the county for recording, and holy moly, they're in West Covina Westfield Mall. How about that? Isn't that interesting that all of this time nobody knew that? Isolation, arrogance. What's the other one? What's the other one that I have told you about? Things you forget, the mistakes you make, and that all leads to what is happening in this city, recall. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Elsie Messman next and Irene Fleck on duty. And just so the public knows, the council doesn't drive down to the Hall of Records and submit documents for recording. So if there's a mistake made, it's made with someone else, the developer or someone else. This, so you know, we don't do that. Go ahead, Elsie. I'm very sorry.
Mayor, council, staff, and everybody here tonight. My name is Elsie Messman, and I'm a resident of West Covina. My topic tonight is not willing to listen. You did not listen to the residents about not selling the Civic Center property. You did not listen to the residents about building condos at Sunset and Roseway. You did not listen about the cell towers. You didn't listen and gave unwarranted pay and benefit packages to union staff and yourselves. You did not listen about deleting the Discover West Covina magazine. You did not listen to 1,000 residents about bringing back cable for 2 meetings, the planning and the council, stopping transparency. You did not listen to residents, even though they got 800 signatures to not sell Shadow Oak Park. You didn't listen to the residents for the disapproval of the Athens Evergreen contract. You didn't listen to your own staff at the last budget meeting about getting free information from the county so we could make an informed decision for possibly lowering the budget. So what does all this non-listening mean? It means that you are toxic leaders. Is this city better off now when you came into the office? My answer is absolutely not. You handpicked who you wanted to all the commissions so you could have complete control. No bid contracts and unsolicited bids with Charles Company at the Heights, Teleq, senior housing, CGM developers at the Civic Center, and Big League Dreams, which the residents did not even approve. Right now, we are $1.4 billion in debt to CDC, millions of unfunded medical benefits, millions in unfunded pension liabilities, millions to LA County on Eastland tax deferral, millions to Big League Dreams. It's costing the city between $700,000 and $800,000 per year. Council approved it. The city pays for it, or shall I say the people of West Covina. Millions for senior housing, $750,000 for the bonds, and the developer pays nothing. This council has not and will not listen, as they have been proven that they are unwilling to change. They think they know it all, and as a result, the residents have lost complete trust and faith in their leadership. The citizens say we must recall this council now. Last council meeting, Councilwoman Sanderson stated that we needed City Manager Pazmat's experience. This council, Tui, Herford, Sanderson, and yes, Lane, combined with Mr. Pazmat, experience together have gotten us to this point. How is that for experience working for you now, Councilwoman Sanderson? Also at the last meeting, I misstated as to who made the motion about listening to staff. I said Councilman Seitz made the motion, and it should have been Councilwoman Sanderson who made the motion. My apology to Councilwoman Sanderson on this one instant, but you have been making accusations towards residents about lying for years. You have always stated you stand by your decision, so you are still part of the toxic leadership in this city. Thank you.
Thank you. Irene Fleck, then Herb Redholz.
Good evening. I'm going to modify what I was going to say because this is much more fun. Dr. Zeus's birthday was on Friday the 2nd, and I want you to know that this was a glorious success at our friendly West Covina Library. There were kids all over the place, and there were all kinds of entertaining little plays up on their little stage. It was great. But 2 quick things so that others can speak. We are having our second annual community mixer on April 4th on Wednesday at 5:30 to 7, and we hope that you will attend. And also, we have 2 big book sales. We have a monthly book sale, but we have the 2 big ones. One is in April, and one is in October. So April 14th, at the library, we'll have a big one, and there's going to be some very interesting books for book people and non-book people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Irene. Herb Redholz and John Shoemaker on deck. Herb? And John?
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Since I'm speaking on item 10, could you perhaps share the addendum that talked about the size of the commissions? Because that was missing from the body of the staff report. There is a chart, but I'm not really sure what the makeup is. Let me just say that I was in full support. Thank you. Okay. Okay, that's what I thought, just seeing if there was any changes. I was in full support of staff's original recommendations regarding the commissions that was before you about the last meeting. I am concerned with what is on the agenda tonight for your approval regarding the commissions, in particular the Planning Commission. It is my concern that combining and merging the Arts Commission with the Planning Commission and leaving a 5-member commission could directly or indirectly result in the loss of veteran, well-trained, knowledgeable planning commissioners, which I believe would be a disservice to make a change like that. At this point, it would be a disservice to the residents, to the city, and to the businesses to lose experienced, well-trained leadership on that commission. I think it is also wise to remember that every single commission term expires, it ends next year. So I think this is perhaps a bit premature to go this route. I think that since every single term is up next year, it could be, we don't have to rush into this right now, and it could be done next year. But that is my main concern, that we lose well-trained, knowledgeable people on the Planning Commission, and perhaps them being replaced with those that are not as proficient in the planning aspects. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Herb. John Shoemaker and Lloyd Johnson on deck.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council. Many are wondering why so many people are working to remove members of this council. The reasons are many, but boil down to a couple very simple ones. Financial mismanagement and an unwillingness to take responsibility for their own actions. Many years ago, when I started attending these very city council meetings, I saw members of this council who would make statements that were over the top. But they understood these statements were exaggerated, but were made to make a point. Today, when these same council members make those over-the-top statements, they actually believe the statements now. They actually believe them. Members of this council have spent time blaming the economy for fiscal issues faced by the city, but they do not want to mention the decisions they have made, which at a minimum exasperated the problem. The contracts with some employee groups and deals to bring business to the city of West Covina that did not turn out as hoped. The same members of this council blame the state of California. They're stealing our money is the whine heard almost every council meeting. But they do not mention the sweetheart deals made to get business into the city that have added nothing to the city's bottom line. We'll hear it's a fault of the members of the public who get up here and speak. Some will say everyone who speaks complains without giving solutions. When given solutions, the council ignores them anyway, with the arrogant attitude that the public does not understand. After all, those speakers are nothing more than members of the public. And these council members are, well, mighty council members elected by the public. I never understood the logic. According to them, the public is smart when voting for them, but not so smart when they have something to say. For the sake of argument, let's say these council members are correct. The public knows nothing about the details of running a city. While these council members always say our city staff is smart, brilliant, and wonderful, we're so very lucky. I'll agree. But when the same smart, brilliant, and wonderful staff of our city tells the council we have a problem, this is what we need to do it now, when we've had this problem for over a decade, these council members totally, completely ignore them faster and more completely than they ignore the public. When the public gets up here and says something is wrong with the city, these council members blast the public for being critical. How dare they say something is wrong? Why are they attacking us personally? public does not understand, and the council will support this city because they love the city. Well, the public understands the problem. We will no longer tolerate the Pollyanna approach to government, and they will not let those same council members continue to destroy the city they love and cherish. The members of the council do not have a corner on loving this city. Thank you.
Thank you. Lloyd Johnson, Tom O'Donnell on deck. Yeah.
Mayor Turi, council members. I have a few things to say tonight. First, and most of all, I would like to make a public apology to ex-council member Lane for the statement I made in the newspaper. The statement wasn't made to degrade her in any way. As a person, I had high regards for ex-council member Lane. My problem was in her lack of leadership. If those words could be taken back and reworded, I definitely would reword them in a different way, so my intentions would have not been misunderstood. In the future, I will choose my words more carefully so it doesn't sound like I am getting personal about someone. Next, I would like to say to West Covina resident Don Carmen for the nice words he said about me in the newspaper. He just proved what I've been saying all along, that we need leaders, not followers. And I am happy with the decision I made to back the candidate I did in the last election. He has proven himself a leader, not like the person all 4 members of this council backed in the last election, and they still lost. And so far, I am happy with the way Councilmember Sykes is doing his job and handling himself on this council. Councilmember Sykes will be judged like every other council member at the voting ballot when his time to be reelected comes up. Don Carmen, if you don't know who he is, he was on the West Covina Senior Citizens Committee. He wasn't the main force behind the West Covina Senior Citizens Committee, just a face that was told what to do and what to say. I would like to say to Mayor Turi, the statement you made about me at the last council meeting, where I thought it was okay to blackmail our public safety, saying if you don't give up these concessions, we are going to replace you with the county. What I said is, I wouldn't have said what 3 members of the council said about not doing anything to our public safety in any way before you start negotiations. I would have let the staff bring back the report and move forward from there. When I am wrong and make a mistake, I will admit it. Council members, I would hope when it comes time to do something about the Planning Commission and the Arts Commission being joined, you decide to just eliminate the 5 members that were on the Arts Commission and leave our Planning Commission alone. They can handle the arts in public places like they used to do. I know this council is going to have a tough job picking someone to replace ex-council member Lane. I would hope all 4 of you will come together and pick someone all 4 of you can work with, and not just because they might be a friend to some of the council members. If you're looking for a true council member and someone who can help guide our city back on the right path, pick someone that you honestly feel can do the job and decide on any item that comes before this council on its merits. And if they disagree with you on a certain item, you won't hold it against them. And then remember, you are colleagues trying to achieve the same goal. Let's see if this council can pick someone that our residents can stand behind. We need to put trust back in our council. One thing that has been lost by this council is the trust of the residents of West Covina. We want to believe in our leaders again, but you haven't given us a reason to do that lately. If certain council members remember what I said at the council meeting when you decided to sell our civic center to a contractor who donated to each of your campaigns, all the good you have done for our city will be forgotten. And so far, that is coming true. This council has a rocky road ahead of it this year. Good luck. You're going to need it. And remember, hatred towards qualified people for the open council seat just leads to bad judgment. Don't make the same mistake again like you did the last time when you appointed the last council member. Pick someone that is electable when the term is up. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom O'Donnell, and then Brian Garland on deck. And then we have one last speaker, Bruce Leinbach.
Ladies and gentlemen of the City Council, I'm Tom O'Donnell. I'm an ardent supporter of you. You know this. Mr. Sykes, you're a worthy opponent. You gave us a real run for the money, and congratulations. The reason I'm here tonight is to speak to you primarily about my support for the West Covina Fire Department, my support for the West Covina Police Department. Hoorah, if you can hear me, Chief Wells. I'm proud of you and your department. Tonight, I'm also going to speak a little bit about Athens, very little. I like my trash being picked up. Don't like the idea of it might not be picked up. Athens is like any other company who goes out and tries to make a profit to stay in business. They're always going to try to make a profit. They're entitled to it. They're a profit-making organization. If they don't make profits, they don't stay in office. Thank you for your time, and good night.
Thank you, Brian Garland, and our last speaker is Bruce Leinbach. Brian.
Hi, my name is Brian Garland, and I'm with California Street Hockey Association. And I just wanted to take a minute or two and thank all the people who support our programs. We've been in this city 17 years now, and with the city's help, we've provided roller hockey programs literally for thousands and thousands of kids. And we just want to say thank you to the city, to all the city staff, especially like Mike and Lindell and the people there who've just been wonderful. The council here has just been amazingly supportive over the years. And we want to say thanks for helping not just us, but for all the youth sports groups. They've been great with just all of them. And they've made it a place that other cities just envy as far as their support for youth sports. So again, thanks to the council and all their support. And then I just wanted to say, anybody who's been down to the rink, they'll just tell you, you can see tonight, a lot of supporters here. Just an incredibly positive place for their kids. It's really like a community in a community. We have families that spend 4, sometimes 5 nights a week there, people coaching and playing, volunteering. And now, after 17 years, we even have kids who grew up in the league who are now raising their kids and playing hockey at the facility. And so it's just so neat to see. We've got coaches who coach not just one team, but sometimes 2 and 3 teams. We've got people like Gary Heritage and Eric Piveroff and the Miller family who volunteer to run our Learn to Play programs. Just to see it, they don't have kids in it. It's just an amazing thing. I've never had this type of thing anywhere else we've done this. We also have people like Paul Hubner. Paul's in the audience tonight, and he brings so many kids to play who can't afford it, brings them from all over the place because of their finances, their logistics, or other hardships. So we just have so many people. I don't have, I really just can't list them all, but I just wanted to say thank you to all those folks out there. If you're not familiar with the rink, it's at Orangewood Park. We've got programs for all age groups, 2 years and up. Believe it or not, we have 3 2-year-olds skating out there. It's just a crack up. And if you have a chance, I just wanted to invite everybody down to see what we do. We have 150 new kids trying roller hockey for free on Thursdays and Saturdays. We provide all the gear for everybody. And we also have a lot of families who suffer financial hardships and they can't afford to play, but they all play for free because we don't turn anybody away at the facility. I had a parent the other day told me what they liked the most about the rink, and that's that all of our parents, and I see it tonight, everybody sits together instead of being split up like a lot of different places. And I think that's the way it should be, and I just thought it summed up how our league is. You know, that it's just one big family down there, and it's a place that helps bring out the best in the people and the best in the community. We're proud to be part of the West Covina community, and we really hope to be there for many years to come. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Brian. We held it to the very end. I appreciate that. Bruce Leinbach's our last speaker. We almost made it all the way through.
All right. West Covina resident, first of all, I got some bad news to tell everybody. Lakers lost to all-team Detroit in overtime. Kobe missed a three-pointer. World Peace did too. Now I see this big crowd here, and I see all these kids. And I hope they aren't going to stay here late. I hope whatever can happen, that somehow this gets moved to the front so they can go home. It's great to have the support for everybody. We had a recent election, not election, but a discussion in council about the situation of whether we should have our police or fire be put up for a bid. And I'll be honest with you, when Mr. Toohey and Mr. Herford voted not to put it out for bid, I was behind him 100%. I've been critical of Mr. Sykes. I thought he's wrong. But I reevaluated my position. I've been thinking of this. And good thing that came, an article came out is the LA Times. I think you should, I'll give you a couple papers here. Could you pass it to maybe Mr. Herford and Mr. Toohey? And they say, and here's what it is about. Santa Ana, the city of Santa Ana, they ended a 128-year tradition. They merged their fire department with Orange County Fire Department. They face a $30 million deficit, and I think about this year. And this is going to save the thing $10 million of that in expenses. Now, another large city, Costa Mesa, is still considering a proposal by Orange County Fire Authority to take over emergency services. El Segundo and Monterey Park have discussed joining Los Angeles County Department. Now listen, I'm a die-hard 100% West Covina citizen. I haven't missed a football game in 22 years. My kids went to West Covina High from 89 to 99, and I don't think I ever missed a school event. I'm real involved in the community, real involved in Lions Club, and I really believe we should have our fire department and our police department. Then the problem is this, we got to look at economic reality somewhat, and we got to maybe reconsider. And this article right here, it says, here's some of the things it states. Officials have one overriding goal, improving the economics of scale so they can cover their cities with lower administrative costs and sometimes fewer firefighters. That's part of it. But more than police departments, fire departments lend themselves to a regional model because firefighters, more than different agencies, tend to work together during blazes, industrial accidents, wildfires. By contracting out with or merging departments, cities can save costs under payroll. Santa Ana, like I say, their department has been there 128 years. Santa Ana might lose some local control, but the cost savings prove too attractive during tough economic times. As this one consultant said, in a great economy, everybody wants to have their own service and their own local say. So in a rotten economy, they look for efficiencies and economies. I worked hard 12 years ago. I remember I got up here as one of the first speakers about they were trying to merge it with the county. I was adamantly opposed, and we fought it, and we won by 75%. However, times has changed. Our reserves are down to the bottom, and I feel really we got to evaluate whether we want to go county or not. I don't know what the feasibility is or not, but we don't know if we don't make a study of it. And this gives the best for our citizens. I think we're facing an $8 million deficit. Where's that going to come from? And I think that you can get greater economies of scale. Maybe it'll have impact. Firefighters, or not firefighters, but fire departments are a little different than police. You just can't move a fire station. And they're not as mobile as far as movement and deploying. Policemen have cars. They can move more readily than fire departments. So I really think we got to evaluate it. We got to look at economy of scale, and I really feel that we should consider having it under study. Like I say, I was kind of upset with Mr. Sykes. After evaluating, I definitely feel that we should study whether we go with the county. Yes.
Thank you. He's done. You can't ask him a question.
No.
No problem. Thank you very much, Bruce.
Okay.
Councilmember Sykes and Councilmember Sanderson.
Mr. Leinbach, I just wanted to correct something that you said. You indicated that there was a vote to switch. That wasn't the case. That night, it was just simply a vote to study. because that's how we make mistakes, is not having as much information as possible before you make a decision. And that's all we were trying to get that night, both Councilmember Sanderson and I. That's what we were after, was just to get information before we made a decision. Thank you.
Councilmember Sanderson.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead. I think that concludes our oral communications, Mr. Mayor.
Bruce is our last
Okay.
speaker.
Well, good evening. It's nice to see the house packed, and we'll make it quick. My son used to play hockey when he was 5. He's now 20. So your rink has been around a long time, and it was a family, and I really do miss it. However, my family is now playing golf. So interestingly, we've gone from hockey to golf. I just wanted to address briefly a couple things that were said this evening. A resident had talked about some donations from an Athens company. Not all those listed were from Athens, but it was in 2009, so my statement was correct. I hadn't taken any financial donations for a few years. But I want to read a list and have a quick question. I'm going to read something. American Cancer Society, DARE, Girl Scouts, American Red Cross, American Youth Soccer, Boy Scouts of America, Boys and Girls Clubs, Girl Scouts, Cherry Blossom Festival, Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, Rotary, YMCA, NAACP, Tournament of Roses, Lions Club, Humane Society, Muscular Dystrophy Association. Does anybody know what those people have in common with me? They've taken donations from Athens. So they're a good company, and they believe in us, and it's just that we want to do a good job, and we'll talk later about the contract if anybody is here in reference to that, but there's a lot of things that we meet on the diversion rates. We have AB 939 regulations to meet. It's such an extremely complex thing that I'm looking forward to talking to about tonight later. And then quickly, I just wanted to mention the Civic Center project that was discussed. I did vote no. The Shadow Oak Park, I voted no to, we were looking at selling it at one point, and then the residents came forward and said, hey, we'd really like you guys to look at not selling it, and the council voted to spend $1.5 million and created an additional expansion to the park. The cable that was discussed, we actually are going to be coming live at some point. This summer, we're working on getting that back online, and the council supported that. The cell towers, there was mention of that. We actually cannot legally mandate cell towers. That's a federal law, and we would be in violation of the law. So, I know it's hard for those of you that are sitting here tonight, and then people talk about billions of dollars in debt. Well, I can actually sit here and say I'm $6 million in debt in my personal life, but the way city government works is they actually project your expenses. Me saying I'm $6 million in debt financially, personally, well, that's my car, or maybe some cars I buy in the future, or my 4 children and how long they're going to live with me, and how long they're going to cost me, and what college they're going to go to, and how much I'm going to owe on my house in 30 years. That's how city government works. So what's happening is there's a book, and I hope if any of you are interested to get it from the city managers, it's the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, and it actually breaks down how we do expend our finances. And I do believe this council listens to the community. We are having some issues with our redevelopment agency. The state actually, you heard somebody mention, the state actually has X'd that, so we're having to make some adjustments. We're not billions of dollars in debt. I just wanted to say these things because there's a lot of people here tonight, and if we do things wrong, we can't support you, and that's what we're here to do. We have a great staff and a great council that's working on providing these services, and I look forward to looking at your item on the agenda tonight. And again, thank you all for listening.
Councilman Steve Herford.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening. I'll be very brief, but I do want to say thank you for coming out tonight. It was my pleasure 17 years ago on this council to support California street hockey and the building of the roller hockey facility there. And as you see, we still have detractors that no matter what you do, you're going to have people that don't like it. I'm proud to live in West Covina. I've lived here my entire life. I grew up on the streets playing recreation programs at the school. I know how important it is for kids to have things to do and activities that are positive, and we see so many kids grow up to be great leaders and individuals, and we've been at all the Little League openings lately, and just role model after role model. And that's really what it's about. Somebody said Dr. Seuss Day was last Friday. I did have the pleasure to go read to a classroom of kids. And that's the joy I derive from my seat on city council. Some people like to make me look like an ogre up here, but in reality, you know, I have kids, they've grown up, they grew up in the city, and I know your kids, you care for their future. You need to realize that there is a group that is trying to recall the council, and if they are successful, you may have a different council that doesn't support some of the programs we do, because it's very, very difficult sometimes to not have you here and to take the vote to support you when you have 20 or 30 other people that look at the city in a different view. So with that, I'll be shut up and we'll move forward with the agenda, but thank you all for coming out.
And I will go ahead and concur with Steve. I was on the council back 17 years ago when roller hockey was first built, and I can tell you more people spoke against it than spoke in favor of building the facility, and it's happened with every facility we've built. You just look around. If you want to see a hate group that follow us, every place we went to light a softball field for the girls or a baseball field for the boys, or a place for the people to walk around Edgewood Track, there was haters everywhere. And we had big meetings. We had 5 votes to light the girls' softball field. We approved it, then a council member switched, then we approved it, then the council member switched again, then we approved it. It took 5 votes to get the girls' softball lights. And the same thing happens. You have people come down and knock the snot out of you because you did that. It took years. Prior to me getting elected, Steve was already being spoken to with Brian and Gil for the California street hockey. It took a change on the council, and it was not a unanimous vote to build that facility over there, and that's tragic. It took 10 years to build the basketball gym. I think some of the greatest votes we have are the votes we did for the kids. And you can look around. We have the great basketball gym. We have the largest attendance this year at that basketball facility. We have a giant soccer group, and they have an item on the agenda. We have great baseball leagues. Big League Dreams, that was beat up. We get 400,000+ visitors a year there. And that's terrible. 400,000 people come here a year. Maverick Field we got beat up for doing 75,000 visitors a year, and you have the same type of shocking numbers when you add up how often all of you come. And that means people are going to eat in our community, get gas in our community, they may live in our community, they may move here because of the type of recreational programs we have. And you're going to see our Maverick baseball field highlighted shortly here, because we have possibly 3 to 4 players being taken in the top 10 picks in Major League Baseball draft. Is probably going to be the first in the history of a league in a city. The pitcher you seen on TV yesterday from Harvard Westlake, the 6'6" kid who pitches 100 miles an hour, he's the #1 probably projected draft pick in the Major League Baseball draft. He pitches at Maverick Field for Duke's baseball. Unbelievable kid, 17 years old, 16 years, throws 100 miles an hour. There are very few Major League Baseball players throw 100 miles an hour, so that's incredible. But I mean, this California street hockey, I've been there all along with you. Brian and Gil, like I said, through thick and thin, we had some rough votes to get the facility originally approved, and I think it is great. You hear a lot of stuff said, and you have to take all that with a grain of salt. Do council members, do elected officials in the United States take campaign donations? Absolutely. You see all the ads on TV. The gentleman who spoke, he may not raise the same amount of money, but 50% of all his money when he was a school board member came from the California Teachers Association, and I'm not knocking that. They have the right to donate also. But it's hypocritical when 50% of your funding comes from a group that you're involved with like that you vote on their employees' contracts. And if you read in the LA Times today, they're the largest, and I'm not knocking them, that's business. They're the largest donor in the state of California. They donated $6.7 million this year to candidates that support their causes. I hope so. I mean, hopefully if CTA backs you up, you back them up. I mean, it's part of the political process. Even if you disagree, that's part of the political process, and there's nothing wrong with that. We all have different votes. But I do look at the quality of the other individuals that give back. And Athens gives back, and California street hockey, which your item's on the agenda, I think it speaks for itself that you guys have given back for many years. I've tried to go out there and skate. I wore a size 18. I'm telling you right now, Gil and Brian has never been able to get me quads. to skate on. And I don't know where they are right now. We've talked to DC Shoes. Everyone's tried to make me special shoes. I'm someday going to skate out there. I can't skate on quads, inlines. I'll kill myself. But I'm going to attempt to get out there one day. And I enjoyed being out there a couple weeks ago to see one of my friends who plays in the league. I have a lot of friends that played there. All my kids are giant feet people, so they've had problems. My daughter's like a size 12 or 13, and my son's a size 16, so you guys just really don't make hockey equipment for my size kids, so very sorry about that. I was better when it was street hockey many, many moons ago. Do we have any other items on the agenda? Council, I was going to say Councilmember Pasma. That's what some people said.
I do remember when you tried to skateboard in the skateboard park, and that didn't work out too. That wasn't a very pretty sight either.
I was on the front page of the Tribune, but I almost broke my hip.
I did want to respond to a couple of comments because I'm a little concerned about a lot of the misrepresentations that are being made. One on the senior housing projects, for example, that the millions of dollars that have addressed being spent there. I want to make sure, since we've got a lot of new residents that have maybe not have attended council meetings in the past, a lot of the money that is spent there was used to subsidize housing for senior citizens, and it's subsidized over a 99-year period. And so when you have over 100 units that are being subsidized down over 99 years every month, that does add up to millions of dollars. And so those are intentionally built to construct affordable housing for senior citizens. The second issue is the $1 billion in debt, which I think is really a misnomer in how it's being represented, because that is tied to the amount of revenues we're receiving as well. That is going to be reviewed by different governmental entities, and whatever that amount turns out to be, there will be a corresponding revenue that will go with that as well. So it's a wash in terms of what is shown as a debt so we can receive that money. And it's, again, as Councilmember Sanderson stated, it is the true debt of the city is reflected in the comprehensive annual financial report, and you're going to see that a lot of that debt has been refunded over the years, going back to the 1970s, the 80s, the 90s, and so a lot of the debt that we recently have done relates to the grading of the Heights project up on Azusa, as well as the construction of the gymnasium on Cameron. So the debt is really being misrepresented in terms of that. And we do have the financial report that's prepared by an independent auditor. The auditor details what that debt is. It's a public document. It's required to be disclosed, and you're welcome to get copies of that information. See for yourself.
Okay.
City Manager, what is the general fund reserve? That is our backstop.
Mr. Bachman, I believe that's currently around 29 million. I guess there is issues with the state on part of that.
Yeah, we
the number on that.
We anticipate our reserve to be in the neighborhood of about 28 million at the end of this fiscal year, but again, 21 million of that is at risk because it was previously loaned to the redevelopment agency, and per that recent legislation, they've determined that that's not valid. There is some legislation up in Sacramento that would uphold those previous agreements, and we're hopeful that that will be adopted by the legislature and the governor. Absent that, the cash reserve is estimated to be in the $6 to $7 million range at the end of the fiscal year.
And if I might add, there's issues there related to impairment of contracts, and there's a lot of legal issues there. But right now, if you look at the financial report, it shows 29 million. Those are questions that are going to be challenged and posed statewide. And again, you have a lot of constitutional issues relative to the U.S. Constitution and state constitution of impairment of contracts that will have to be addressed at that point in time.
And separate from those balances, the 9.95 million that we've won in judgments against Haas and Imports partnerships is not reflected in any of those numbers that you're currently stating. That's in addition to, correct?
That's correct. It's actually a higher number, but yes.
I understand. The Ziad Al-Hassan himself, the personal money he owes is 1.3 million in addition that we've won in judgments also. So it's approximately 11.2 million dollars in addition that the city may have coming in shortly.
That is correct.
Thank you. Okay, we move down to consent calendar.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to pull up item 9 on the consent calendar since we have a lot of kids here tonight.
Okay. And on item 10, I'd like to pull that up because I just want to make sure we make the adjustment on the salary. All the commissions were supposed to be reduced 50% in salary. So if we need to pull that off, and Mr. Sykes
Also,
wanted that.
10,
Sorry,
please,
Councilmember.
because I'm hoping to streamline our transition, in particular when it comes to the Planning Commission.
No
Okay.
problem.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve all the other items on the consent calendar.
Second.
The only other item I have is, can we pull off item 6 to talk about the speed limit on a Vine and Azusa, or Vine Avenue from Glendora Avenue to Citrus, to make sure I understand the speed limit that you're proposing may work in some areas, but not in all areas?
Mr. Mayor, I'll let my motion reflect that.
Okay.
Pull it off. We'll pull it off.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Item number 6, can we hold that over till next meeting, until I can get some discussion with staff?
Sure.
Is that okay? Motion to hold over?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? 4-0. Number 9, the extension of California street hockey contract. Mr. Councilman Herford.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that. The one amendment, you have exact numbers in here, and I don't know if the rink structure replacement and stuff, if all the poles don't need to replace, they need to spend the money no matter what, even if it's not in damage, because it has an absolute number instead of a replacement when needs are needed, all those things that are listed here. I want to make sure it's listed as a needs list more, and you repair what you need to repair, not that you absolutely have to spend that much money, even if it's not broken.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor. What we'll do is we'll work with the folks at California Street Hockey to come to a resolution on the up-to costs for these constructions, as well as a schedule when those improvements will be done, or if they're done over a course of years as well.
No problem, and if the maker of the motion is willing to accept that I will wholeheartedly second it. We have a motion and a second on the extension of California Street Hockey. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? That passes 4-0. Thank you very much. Brian, Gil, thank you. Dare I say it, we're going to give you
Can we take a 5-minute recess?
A 5-minute recess to let you.
So pack out. Shopping. Thank you. Thank you. You guys have fun. I heard a saying the other day. You can either mull about things being not down in your life, or you can go shopping. I'll go shopping. I'm putting money back into the city of West Covina. I'm going to the mall. Something to drink. Ooh, coffee.
hold over the Vine? Because there was 2 items on traffic committee.
It was the Vine one, Vine Avenue from Glendora to Citrus.
Right, not the second item.
No.
Got it.
She said she used to live on her street?
Yes, I did.
This is Robert Downey Jr. Isn't that cute?
Yes, I lived at 1329.
You know, that's a nice
When we come back to order, do you want to just clarify? It was
Yes,
traffic
that
committee,
was
item number 1 only.
that was my fault.
How's it going, Mr. Mayor?
What's up, Kelly? Trying to find something right now.
There you go on skates. Yeah, I want to see that. Now you agree. All those in favor?
Forrest.
That's what I said to me. What's
And
else?
I bought a kitty rain, isn't that coffee? And then I had one kitty rain. You know, having fun. Yeah, you know? That's nice.
Oh. Alfred Williams is ready to begin filming again, so we need to get... That was a commercial break.
And we're back.
Brought to you by the former, I think, DMV employee. Sit- Has anyone seen where Steve Maya went? Oh, well,
Yeah.
we don't need anyone to check on him then. We'll be ready to go in a minute. Remember my good side, Alfred. Maybe. Okay, we're back in order. If I can just bring back the one traffic committee, if it's okay, my motion was, or my second of the motion was only to include the Vine Avenue strip right now for further study and not the other item that was on the agenda I need to bring it back officially or say that if it's okay with the rest of the members of the council? The traffic committee item.
Mr. Mayor, that's fine unless there's any objection from the council members. That will be the request.
Is everyone okay? Councilmember Sykes?
I just want to clarify, we're leaving Vine approved? Is that the?
No, Vine's the one that's
You want to
be
hold off?
studied.
Okay,
The other one.
who's second?
The entire street or just part of it?
The entire street right now, to bring it back next meeting. So I can, well, I'm just concerned, some of it's a 15-mile-an-hour drop in speed limit. I'm just concerned with this going to, and I understand some of it may make more sense, some may this be a ticket alley, which
Your intent was only to hold back on item number 1 of that, the Vine portion.
Yes. Okay, if that's okay, we drop down to public hearing.
And we have item 10, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, item 10, I'm sorry. Item 10, sorry about that. And Councilmember Sykes.
Okay, I wanted us to take another look at 10, simply because efficiency and what's best for the city. I have worked with the four of the gentlemen who are presently on the Planning Commission, and they are quite responsible for the future of the city, and I can't see why we want to even attempt to think about restructuring it when we have a good team that's doing a good job with this decisions for the future. They've been trained, all of them, and I just can't see us wanting to dilute and change the 5. Just keep it simple, and if we want to change it in a year, we'll have an opportunity to do that when the term is up. So in the sake of efficiency and what's best for the public, please, let's leave the Planning Commission as is. Thank you.
Okay, is there any other comments on that, or motion?
I'll make a motion to approve it as it's read, with the inclusion of the stipend being reduced by 50%.
I would second that. My only comment I want to say, I heard what Lloyd said, and I want to emphasize that not all those people that went to the Planning Commission were on the Planning Commission all along, and to say that only the people that are there are the ones who are qualified, even though Herb came from the Human Resources Commission prior to him serving there. Dave Stewart came from Community Service Commission prior to being on the Planning Commission, I should say, for both of them, their respective commissions. Alan Carrico came from the Community Service Commission, and Rob Sotelo came from the Community Service Commission. I believe any commissioner that we have in any level commission is just as qualified as other people. To say Paul Blackburn, who's sitting in the audience next to Dave Stewart, or George Ogden, is not qualified, and only the 5 that are currently there, to me, is insulting to the other 35 commissioners we have. I think all of them are quality individuals, and I believe everyone could make reasonable decisions, in my personal opinion. We have a motion and a second. Councilwoman Sanderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to get some clarification, because at the last meeting, I actually did not support this movement, and the reason is because I think we needed to go a little deeper, just temporarily suspend all commissions at this time. However, what I understand, Mr. City Manager, I had a quick question. There's like a term for these commissioners. Could you briefly explain
I'm going to
that?
have Mr. Freeland address that, because I think I may have answered the question wrong with you. I think they were staggered, and I believe that was one of the alternatives. I think they're actually fixed, and so I think that was mentioned today. So, Mr. Freeland.
Thank you, Mr. Passman and Councilwoman Sanderson. Yes, actually, the terms of the commissioners expire April 2013. That's all current commissioners serving the city of West Covina. When the City Council made the adoption to change the structure of our city commissions a couple of years ago, at that time, it was recommended just give everybody the same term of office.
Okay. All right. And the reason I'm questioning is because if we vote no on this, then we're doing nothing. And I honestly think we need to do something to reduce the cost of the commissions. You're saying that you're going to be cutting the cost in half, as well as reducing by 10 members of the commissions? Is that what the original intent was? So I guess we're still doing something. I'd still like to look at just temporarily suspending the commissions, and whether the 5 planning commissions, I think they're good too, and I wouldn't, whether you could change them, you could keep them. I think that's irrelevant here. What you're doing is you're just reducing basically our commissions, 5 on community services, and then the arts commission and planning, whether we want to combine them or just keep all 5. I mean, that comes up at a later date. So with that, I think I would support the motion and the second on the floor for the reasons that we're actually moving in the right direction. However, I would just like to throw out there that I think that we need to temporarily suspend because we do spend staff time, and I know we're going to be looking at those type of things. We really need to just pull back for a little bit while we get through all these unknowns with the state, and until we get back on track with everything and get some answers from the state as to where our RDA tax increments monies are going. I think that's kind of where I'm coming from. So, but tonight we're not making any decisions on commissioners that we're keeping. That will come back for our decision. So with that, I will support the motion on the floor. Thank you.
I just have one question. I think all the commissioners are advisory and they serve at the will of the council, right? So even though there's a deadline or a term, it can be changed at any time. I mean, you can replace a commissioner at any time. So, yeah, and I agree. We're not making any choices on commissioners tonight. And to be honest, I mean, if we come back here 2 weeks and we decide none of the tenant people that are on planning and public arts are qualified, then we can go out and we can interview new people if we want, or we can do whatever we want. I mean, they are advisory commissions, and so they serve at the will of the council.
And what was stated was this, well, it's okay to get rid of based on the argument the other side is making, that it's okay to get rid of the Arts Commission. Well, those people also had a term, and I believe their input is valuable. And it's amazing to me sometimes how someone can lessen someone else's. I mean, I think Gloria Vargas, Rudy Baez, Dr. Gerald Menifee, Marcia Hazelton, Don Woods, I think they're nice people too. And that's amazing that people can say they've all served different roles, and I'm no question what I'm saying, to say, like I said, this because Paul and George are here to say someone else is less qualified because someone's necessarily been there longer. That's the exact opposite argument you guys are using to recall us. It's kind of funny. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes 4-0. Okay, we drop down to community development block grant money. Block grant program. This matter set for public hearing is the development of the draft fiscal year 2012-2013 Community Development Block Grant Action Plan. Will the city clerk verify that proper legal notice has been given?
Yes, that's verified.
At this time, I shall open the public hearing on the development of the draft fiscal year 2012-2013 Community Development Block Grant Action Plan. There will first be the presentation of the staff report, then we shall hear comments from the public. Mr. Pasmont, who will present the staff report?
Mr. McDonald will do that report.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. This matter concerns the authorization to draft a fiscal year 2012-2013 CDBG action plan. As a condition of receiving federal CDBG funds, the city is required to prepare an annual action plan which detail how the intended use of the grant funds. Prior to drafting the action plan, the city is required to hold a pre-development public hearing to provide an opportunity for comment on the community needs and priorities which the plan is based. In April 2010, the City Council approved the 2010-2015 Consolidated Plan. It's a 5-year strategic visioning document, also required for the grant. The development of this plan required the consideration and prioritization of nine categories of community need as identified by HUD. These categories are described in attachment number 1. The resulting prioritization, which is shown in table number 1 of the report, has been the basis for the last 2 action plans. As part of this report, however, staff is recommending amendments to these priorities as shown in table number 2. Changes are highlighted with an asterisk, and in all 3 cases, the priority levels have been revised down from high, which indicates that the area would be funded by CDBG monies, to a medium prioritization, which would indicate may be funded. This will allow for some flexibility as the process moves forward. These changes are recommended because the city is to receive just under $884,000 from HUD in 2012-2013. This represents a reduction of approximately $194,000 or 18% from the current year. This will be the second consecutive year of a double-digit reduction, and of course this will significantly impact the city's capacity to address all the areas of need. Based on the outcome of this hearing, staff will prepare and publish a draft action plan. It will be available for a required 30-day public review, and the draft will be presented to the City Council for consideration in a public hearing in May 1st is our target. There's no fiscal impact resulting from this report. However, based on the aforementioned reduction in funding, the action plan and the budget will be drafted accordingly. With that, it's recommended that the City Council direct staff to develop a fiscal year 2012-2013 CDBG action plan based on the needs and priorities identified in table number 2 of this report. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Kelly. Is there any questions of staff by council? Seeing none, is there anyone present who wishes to comment on this item? I have no cards. I shall now close the public comment portion of this hearing and ask for council discussion. Or a motion is in order.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. I have to drop down, sorry. Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Passes 4-0. Drop down to the city attorney's office. Options for filling vacancy of city council seat by appointment or by calling for a special election. Mr. City Attorney.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, you have a report before you this evening for your review and consideration regarding the manner in which the seat vacated by the resignation of Councilwoman Sherry Lane, which occurred on February 21st of this year. The California Government Code Section 36512 provides a variety of options, and I wish to cover them briefly this evening. The first option is to fill the vacancy by appointment. That you have actually done in recent years, but there has been one minor change to the time period in which the vacancy would need to be filled. It used to be 30 days under prior law. Now it is a 60-day period in which the City Council may consider the vacancy. If you choose to fill the vacancy by appointment, you would need to complete the appointment no later than April 21st of this year. The second option is to call for a special election at the next regularly established election date. The next regularly established election date is scheduled for this November, which will be November 6th, and that if you call for the election, the person elected at that time would fill the unexpired term, which would conclude in November of 2013. Again, if you do not fill the seat by appointment, you would then either have to call for the special election prior to the April 21st, 2012 date, or if you do not take action, the council does not take action, then the city clerk would be the one to call the election for this November. So again, the alternatives here for your consideration is to fill the vacancy by appointment, to fill the to define a method to filling the vacancy, or to call for a special election. Staff stands ready to address any questions. However, I should also note that the City Clerk's Office has taken the opportunity to evaluate what the estimated cost would be if a special election is held, and the the cost would be somewhere in between $60,000 to possibly $134,000.
And does that include staff time?
Those are the direct costs from LA County Register Recorder's Office, not including any staff time.
And bear in mind, these are dated costs that are in there because they were from prior invoiced expenses.
No problem. Councilmember Herford.
Well, I'm not prepared to make any really decisions tonight. I just want to get as much information as I can. But one thing that concerns me, and I'm not saying I'm going this way, but if we have an election, I was very disappointed in the way the county ran the last election. We had some precincts that were so buried that one on the south side, I don't know how anybody found it. And there was also South Hills High School where the lights weren't on, and it was, you couldn't even find that one. So I'd like to get a price on what it would cost the city to run the election if we were to do the election, so if we could do that. My thought is, you know, we've got the options there. You know, I would like to see us all come to some agreement on who the person is, but how we do that, I don't know at this stage.
Councilmember Sanderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last vacancy we had was faced with a similar challenge here in how we were going to handle this situation. And something that I heard and researched that some other cities and how they've filled vacancies in the past was they had people submit what's called a letter of interest, and it would be submitted to the city clerk, and that is if we choose to appoint the position, and they have to do it within a specific date and with the original signature. That way it's not coming from online or whatnot. They would have to go. Now, Mr. City Attorney, would we be able to legally ask or put out somehow, I don't know how we'd even advertise for something like that, but a letter of interest, could something like that be done?
Yes.
Hey, you're short and quick. Okay, well, that's my thoughts. You know, because the cost is something I don't think that we need to experience right now. And so by April 21st, we'd either have to appoint or the special election would be on November 6th. So that would be my opinion on this.
Councilmember Fred.
Regarding the switching to our own in-house count for votes, I don't think we need to make any drastic changes. However, I do think that we need to have a review of the voting venues, because I absolutely agree about the one area, the one precinct that had to leave the county, or correction, leave the city and go and find a hide-and-seek place to vote, and that was a travesty. But I think that problem can be easily corrected simply by a review before we approve of the sites that the county have offered for us to have as polling places. Furthermore, in that incident, we had a place that we normally vote from that precinct, but that place was under construction. So I don't think that's going to repeat itself, having people to go out of the city and around and so forth. And as far as the South Hills venue for voting, the lights were out. Well, I'm sure somebody can turn them on. So I don't think we need to go and reinvent the wheel. That's my say on the election situation. Now, as far as the replacement, I concur with Councilmember Sanderson. The cost is prohibitive at this time. We did have a process in place that we used for 2010 to replace outgoing, now he's the assembly member. It was Roger Hernandez. I think we can revisit that process and get it done for the public and not cost a lot of money. Thank you.
I kind of concur with what everyone has said. I have spoken at length with Councilmember Sykes before about that one precinct, which you have to have sheer luck to find it. It was down 15 different cul-de-sacs we had to go down before we found the magic cul-de-sac that went to that school site. I don't know how, if we even are allowed to challenge the county. I'm not sure if the county can do pretty much whatever they please. Whoever picked a lot of those locations did a terrible job. And overall, there were people that were voting at St. Martha's St. Martha's Catholic Church at Temple in Azusa, and people that were closer to that actually had to drive by that venue and go to that one in the county area of what's considered happy homes. Via Corte School. And that was absolutely pitch black over there too, besides the lights on in the office. The one at South Hills High School, you couldn't see the lights on in the classroom, but seniors would have to actually go approximately 500 to 1,000 feet to get anywhere near the site, and it was pitch black. There was no lights on that part of the facility. And there's more than those facilities that were problematic. I think St. Martha's Catholic Church actually had 2 or 3 precincts at it, and I just didn't know when you had a brightly lit venue like that why you couldn't have put more. I don't understand if there's a law against having more precincts. There may be. Vine School has 2 normally at it, and it's just interesting dynamics on that aspect. Running our election, I believe the rules have changed, and I'm not sure if, and I preferred when we used to run them ourselves, if you remember, and a lot of you are older residents that used to come down here to the council chambers, if you remember, and you sit here and they run the scores back here, and that was kind of fun. This in general, it was like a TV show that you were watching, and you were like bigger time. The county, I'm not even sure how they run an election, because when the precincts come in, based on how the counts go, you can't tell where they came from unless you have a spotter there. So it was neat doing there. I don't know, based on the new language laws, if we can even comply, because I think it's a 10% threshold for the county or the cities, and the county has a much easier time to do some of those ballots. So we have to figure out how all that works out on the appointment. I would agree on doing an appointment process, and hopefully it can all work out. And I agree with what everyone said here today. So at this point in time, if we're not ready to start a process, if we can agendize it for the next council meeting at least, so we can talk about it and give time. And the one thing I would ask residents to do, because we had a lot of people apply last time, and only around 7 of the individuals actually showed up. We had 19 applicants, I think, and 7 of them actually showed up. If you're not even going to show up to the interview time or the time when you come and speak and let us see who you are, I just don't know why you submitted if you were totally unknown. And there was a lot of other people that were not picked, but they were still here, and I respect that aspect of it. You know, you should at least show up for your job interview. So we have nothing else. Is it okay to bring it to the next council agenda? Do I have
I'll make a motion that we bring forward to the next council meeting.
I second that motion.
Motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? 4-0.
May I get a clarification? Are we just bringing back the item as a carryover to next meeting, or are we doing the letters of?
I believe we're carrying it over, but I thought so we can actually take an action to put it out for whatever you call it, application.
Okay, so you'll give us further direction next meeting then?
Yes, but we're actually be an action item. I thought this was not I thought this was more of a beginning item.
It's whatever you wish. Okay.
No problem. Okay, item number 13. This is going to be a weird quirk until someone makes a motion for who they want to appoint to the successor of Mayor Pro Tem Lane, who served on the Sand District. There are new FPPC laws that took place, so once I have a motion on somebody, that person must leave the room so we can vote on it, since it is a paid position. So do we have a motion for who would like to fill as the alternate director of the Los Angeles County Sanitation District?
I'll
nominate Councilwoman Sanderson.
What?
Do I think?
Well, we haven't had it second yet.
Oh.
Don't get so confident. Now we're going to make you wait out here for a minute. I'll second it just to make it interesting. Now, if Arnold,
Yes, Mr. Mayor,
you can explain the new rule.
Right. The FPPC has handed down an opinion dealing with Orange County cities and the appointment of members from their legislative bodies to positions that carry salaries with those positions. The sanitation district is one of those bodies, and out of an abundance of caution, it is recommended, and the record should further reflect that Council Member Sanderson has stepped out of the room, that out of an abundance of caution, this is the process that we're suggesting at this time. It should also be noted that the FPPC on their March 15th agenda will be dealing directly with that issue, and the proposal that is being recommended to the FPPC board is that that rule be set aside and that council members can vote on their own appointments, whether they are paid or unpaid. So at this time, since you have a motion and a second, it is appropriate to consider that motion.
The other item, if it's okay to do it, since she's the next in line, is to confirm our mayoral succession order process, which would make Shelley Sanderson the next mayor pro tem in line, and it would move up then Steve Herford to the next position and Fred Sykes in that next position, and whoever, if there is able to make an appointment, that person would go to the bottom of the list.
And actually, Councilmember Sanderson could participate in that because there is no additional compensation. But in any event, yes, you may want to deal with that one first, as the mayor pro tem rotation.
Okay, if we can, is there, it takes 4 votes to change the mayoral succession, since there's only 3 votes here. I know that's not happening. Is there a motion to appoint Councilwoman Shelley Sanderson, who's next in line on the mayoral succession underneath former Mayor Pro Tem Sherry Lane?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? It passes 3-0. Now the appointment of now Mayor Pro Tem Shelley Sanderson as alternate to the Los Angeles County Sanitation District.
I think I already made a motion.
Okay. And I second it, so, okay, whatever. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. If we can go get Shelley, we can light the white smoke and we have a new pope. And she just got relocated next week, possibly. Shelley, we have good news to report. You are Mayor Pro Tem, but Fred's the alternate. Okay, we drop down to AB 1234 conference and meeting reports. Does any council member have a report to give? Hearing none, we drop down to council members' other may I items. Request from council member Shelley Sanderson requesting city council to adopt a resolution supporting West Covina youth soccer's efforts in finding additional playing fields at local schools.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was thinking at the last council meeting that we had quite a few people, and I was just asking for the council's support in directing staff to basically help our soccer needs and hope that we can find them facilities and do what we can. And it's pretty basic, so thank you.
I'll second that, or to support that. I also wanted to talk about the possibility of looking for some funding apparatuses for West Covina Youth Soccer, whether sharing the field with the Hustle group at the Sunset Little League fields, Orangewood Park in the back of the park, and possibly sharing the Pony Coal field when it's not in use. We're working with the different uses. Possibly the possibility of buying portable restrooms, the ones on trailers that are, even though it's a porta potty, they look like a regular restroom and women may attempt to use them. at the soccer fields, because I know we have a tremendous problem there with the soccer individuals. And funding that I would like to consider that next time when this all comes back is Fund 161, the Construction Tax Fund, Fund 160, Capital Projects Fund, and Fund 163, the Parks Fund, which total approximately $500,000 roughly. Yes, Councilwoman Sanderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And that would be funding from restricted funds, not anything from the
Correct.
general fund. Okay, just
Those are
wanted to make that
restricted
clear
funds.
for myself as well as the public that these are funds for this type of particular thing. So if there's no other comments, I'll go ahead and make that motion.
The only reason I was saying those, absolutely, 1 second. The only reason I was saying those is that, and not only saying that the school should work with them, but we need to do our, pull an equal load up the hill. Councilmember Sykes.
Absolutely, Mayor. I agree with that approach. Since 2006, I discovered that situation out there with bathrooms that weren't fixed, and I couldn't believe that we have like 1,000 children out there, and that's a program that is the most active and what we have as far as growth in the city for our youth. They offer scholarships. They do some wonderful things out there. So absolutely, thank you for that idea, and I support it 110%. Thank you.
And nothing else, and thank you, Councilwoman Sanderson, for bringing it up. Okay. I have a motion and a second, I believe. All those in favor to bringing it back to the council meeting for action item? All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Passes 4-0. We drop down to request from Councilmember Fred Sykes requesting the City Council to instruct city staff to prepare a report evaluating the city's trash removal contract and options for alternate services. Councilmember Sykes.
Thank you, Mayor Tui. In 2007 is when this contract came to my attention, and if you review the records at that time, I indicated that I thought the residents just did not get the best deal with this contract. And so I've been bringing it up off and on since that time, and that was one of the things that I talked about vehemently during my campaign, so my brochures. So I think it's no surprise to everyone that we should visit this, that I'm begging that we visit this contract. Now, I was elected November the 8th, and I got a letter from Athens dated November the 15th. And the company reached out, touched bases with me. They were very gracious. I got a tour of the MRF, the Material Recovery Facility. The company is outstanding, and it's on the leading edge. And they are also a wonderful partner with the city. They gave me a list of their West Covina community involvement, and there is roughly 107 entities and various city activities in and around West Covina. So there's no doubt that they are a good partner with the city. But as we know, sometimes partners sometimes don't always do things on an even keel. And when you look at this, this contract that binds us to this marriage between the residents and Athens forever, I just think that Athens, as a partner, got the better end of the deal. And I'm hoping that as a partner, they could consider, one, they can withdraw that evergreen clause in and of themselves. It doesn't have to be a fight for it. It could just be a partner saying, okay, partner, I see your pain, I feel your pain, and I'm going to yield a little bit. So some of this fight can cease and desist immediately if Athens is willing to continue to be the good partner. Now, with that having been said, if Athens does not want to yield that evergreen clause, then I'm hoping that we can find another approach, another path to how we reach open and fair bidding. That's all we're asking for at this time, is for the public to get open and fair bidding on their disposal. And with that, I'll yield to the mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other council member comments? Councilwoman Sanderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Being on the council for 11 years, this has always been an issue that's come up every few years, and how I completely and 100% respect Councilmember Sykes for looking out for the best interests of the people. I think that is completely 100% understandable, and I agree. What's difficult is, years ago, I believe it was the 90s, West Covina disposal had some litigation issues. There was a lot of problems with the compliance. The state has put on mandates that we must meet. AB 939, which is basically, we are required, it's a 50% landfill diversion on recyclables. And Athens stepped in at that time and basically avoided litigation for the city of West Covina. That's actually before I was on council, and I had heard about it, and I was kind of reading about it in the paper. And so since then, and when I got on the council, I actually got more involved and went down to the facility. And what's really neat is Athens has saved us. I mean, we have so much going on with AB 939, as well as now there's a new, it's AB 341. It's a compliance that's going to effect as of July 1st, that it's a multifamily and commercial mandating facilities for the 4 cubic yard trash bins, that they have to meet this criteria as well. And then with the Pointy Hills landfill closing, you know, we just have so many challenges to meet. And also the AB 2032 rule that requires our trash companies to not use diesel trucks anymore. They have to use the clean burning fuels, which they're all doing. They're meeting all our requirements. And what I understood too is that it's $10,000 per day fines if we don't meet those mandates. Now, we looked at other companies in the city, in the area, I believe it's BFI and Waste Management, and I have two things that I'd kind of like to throw out there. First of all, if you wanted to bring that information to me, that we would be getting better service, better costs and all that, I would totally be willing to look at it. Now, talking about the rolling contract, I think one of the main reasons that I support it is because of the multi-millions of dollars that Athens has invested in equipment, material recoveries facilities, and they're continuing to have to grow because of the mandate state information. Okay, as a business owner, we operate on a debt, like the city operates on a debt. It doesn't sound good to the regular person, but what happens is, to be able to provide the low-cost services to the residents, they have to go to banks and get loans to buy these multi-million-dollar facilities, equipment, all that type of stuff. And when you have an agreement, you're able to keep your costs down for your people and be able to get the loans through the banks. So I look at it as a business decision. However, I'm going to say another thing. To tell you how seriously I am about this contract and all the hubbub that's come to the council meetings over the last few meetings, I will not take one single penny from this company, because I believe in the contract, because I believe what they're doing, and we can call it any time we want to. However, there's also a caveat that we can't call this contract anyway, because you have to do it within 60 days of, I believe, March 30, is it 31st, Mr. City Manager?
I believe that the deadline's April 1st.
April 1st, okay. So we're within that time frame, so we really can't do anything right now. However, if you brought forward to me that BFI or Waste Management are going to have the equipment that Athens has, that has this MRF that is just doing what we needed to do to keep us in compliance with all these new requirements that I've been reading about and researching, I would be more than glad to listen. But at this point, I'm not seeing that. And so as much as I agree with you and I want to support you tonight, because I always think it's important to look at the city's, the citizens' best interest, until that comes forward, then I will just continue to kind of stay where I think we've hit. I've dealt with this with, past council members, and so with that, I don't know if anybody else has anything to add, or if you, if you have any more information, I would love to hear that, because I'm up here trying to get all the information I can and keep an open mind, and again, I will make those promises if that's where we go. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Steve Herford.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In 1990 or 91, West Covina Disposal was a company that was owned by Rayford Johnson, actually, and his wife. And at that time, the trucks that we had in the city were in violation of the CHP codes, and they were just horrendous. And back then, we didn't have automated pickups, so it was a fleet that was lagging. And at that time, they sold to Athens Disposal, and so the city had to approve the contract. And ultimately, it's easy to say an evergreen is a bad thing, but when you have to make huge capital investments and buy trucks and build a MRF, and we divert over 60% of our waste in this city, and we are one of the top cities, and we were one of the first cities in California to do that. And people tend to forget we had a landfill here that we used to have odors and trash problems and trucks on the street and everything. And today it's so much better. And I don't buy into the politics that this is some kind of a political supporter. I know, Mr. Sykes, you asked for money and they gave you money. You gave it back, but they gave it to you. And it's businesses want to contribute to good leaders. That's the way government works. It's nothing more than that. There's no ties or anything. And so people that allude to that, I think it was quite evident tonight with what Mr. Toohey said about the Teachers Association. I mean, we all run campaigns, we take campaign contributions, but ultimately what this comes down to me is, how many complaints have I gotten about Athens? I can't tell you I've had a complaint in probably 3 years. When they are asked to do something by the city, they step up and do it. We have, not only do you have your trash pickup at the normal day, you have the ability to call on a bulky item pickup anytime, and so that's a great advantage if you're trying to get rid of a couch or something. Plus, they do a great job on West Covina Cleanup Fix-Up Week. So I just don't see the complaints. I don't see any complaints at all. I think they're a good service, or they may not be that way in other cities, and I'm not going to defend other cities, but in West Covina, I'm happy with the service they provide.
I too concur with that. When you really think about very few services we have actually touch someone 25,000 customers a week. Well, actually, because you get 2 pickups, 50,000 pickups a week. That is an absolute shocking number. When we did a survey out there, they were the highest rated service we provide in the city of West Covina, higher than any service we provide. Because normally you don't have an interaction with the fire department unless you had something serious happen. It just, you don't interact. You see them and you wave to them all. And police, you have either a positive relationship with them if they're coming to your rescue, or if they write you a ticket, you don't like them. So, I mean, it's a different type of scenario, and it would be no different. I know the librarian was here. And it's no different. It's something when you're going to the library, it's a positive type interaction. Whoever you see, you see. It's normally not where you're trying to hunt down someone for a fine that they haven't paid. They've had a book out for 3 years. So, I mean, it's a total different type of service model. Some people have this based on their style of business. It's more positive. I know not everyone remembers here, but it was in 1991 when West Covina Disposal was here. They had a lot of trucks that kept on getting fix-it tickets. And they kept on getting signed off by a CHP officer. Then, unbeknownst to West Covina Disposal,
that CHP officer retired, but he kept on signing off fix-it tickets. And the rubber met the road. I don't know how to say it politically correct here, but all hell broke loose when 6 months after someone had retired, he was still signing fix-it tickets. And that's when the city got involved, and at that time it was not Athens, but it was Rayford Johnson's, I believe his wife, her family's company, had to sell. And they had issues. We haven't had a lot of issues since 1991. The contract was called, I believe, in 2004, 2005 by Councilmember Hernandez at that time, and then it was an 8-year evergreen contract, and it was advanced up to a 12-year evergreen contract during that time. That's just a matter of factual, matter of record. Very few people, they may complain about things that happen in other cities, and I understand what you're saying, Forrest, and you may agree, disagree. I respect all that. You know, I've known you for many years, Forrest, and we will agree sometimes or agree to disagree. So I just think overall, the trash service, and you're going to see it in cities over the next 12 months right now, when Puente Hills landfill closes down. We currently get credit for green waste. Every city in Los Angeles County gets credit for green waste. Your lawn clippings, you get diversion credit. When Puente Hills landfill can't take that anymore in July of 2013, that counts as disposal. Athens has already purchased a company out in the high desert where they can take that, where we still get diversion credit. We're already at 69%. We're one of the highest diversion cities. That means we divert 69% of the trash you dump does not go to the landfill. I know people may laugh or may not realize that's amazing, and we are one of the highest cities in the state of California at that diversion goal. And a lot of the other cities that are competing with us are other Athens cities. Starting July 1st, multifamily facilities like Royal Brown's facility will have to do sort separate, well, not him because he lives in West Covina, but if you live in a multifamily type of complex like that where you have the bins, or an apartment complex or commercial facilities, you're going to have multiple bins there on your properties now to sort separate the trash. It is going to be a different thing that takes place, much less when you can't take the trash to the landfill. Prior to the recession, like I said last meeting, the landfill was closing at 10:30. Therefore, trash trucks that don't have a MRF couldn't dump their trash, and they have to wait in line at the trash facility, or wait in line, or you take a truck full of trash back to the yard. That is a fire nightmare that can combust, and it's just a different thing. And I would not support going out to this, Fred, and I understand, but I would not support this. Athens, to give us space long-term, has had to invest $60 million in their MRF, and to finance that, you can try to get financing of that level over 4 years, but financing for large investments, short-term versus long-term, there's a big difference between the two, and in the end, the ratepayers will pay it. If you cancel the contract, if you read the contract, rates instantly go up on Royal Brown's type of complexes. They instantly get rate increases, and there's a question on the $400,000 rate increase that Athens waived in 2004 when the contract was extended. And I don't know if that $400,000 rate increase that Athens waived goes back on our residents. And clearly the multifamily, the trash can component there will go back into effect, which is a significant raise on other businesses, and I think you need to look at that. Councilmember Sykes.
Thank you, Mayor Tui. The bottom line from my pocketbook is what I keep coming back to, and I'm sure that as everybody looks at the cost of fuel, which means if fuel is going up, our trash is going to go up. And Athens has a built-in compensation program for that, so they're gonna be able to take care of that cost. The residents, however, we don't get those automatic raises to help us adjust to the cost of living and what fuel is doing to us and so forth. And fuel cost is going to affect everything, what we eat and so forth. So now, with that having been said, when I see that when I write a check and the per month cost is $27 for my disposal service, and I look at beautiful Redondo Beach by the ocean, I live near a trash dump, and the MRF. And I look at Redondo Beach paying $12 for the same service or something similar to it. It may not be exactly the same, but it can't be that much different. I mean, how much can it be different? I don't think it's going to be that much different in the way of service that Redondo Beach gets for $12 a month and what we get for $27. We also have neighbors. Hacienda Heights, $17. We are $10 ahead of them per month. And then Azusa. Azusa has a trash service with 2 employees stacked on it. The trucks I see, there's 1 employee on that truck. So to me, it still comes back, and it's just unacceptable for me to stand by and not try to look at how we can help our residents deal with this situation of money going out that I see in comparison. It just appears as though it does not have to be that way. And it would be nice for us to step up and figure out how to get that balanced so that we don't have to pay twice as much as Redondo Beach, for instance, to take care of our trash. I don't think that's hard for us to do. And I'm also appealing to Athens. I mean, I know it's a big thing to ask, but they're a $1 billion company. And I do think that fairness should be what we're looking at. And I just don't think that the residents are getting a fair shake on our disposal contract. Thank you.
Fred, the only thing I would disagree with you on is even if you did everything in a perfect world, anything you just stated doesn't take effect till 2024. I'm just saying that's just a matter of Steve's next, but that's just a matter of the record of how it is. So I'm saying and my concern is we bought in a long time ago to guaranteeing our waste is guaranteed first rights at Athens for MRFing, where Greg Tuttle, well, Greg's not gone now, but in Baldwin Park, they use the MRF temporarily in their waste management only till Athens cities use up their capacity. Otherwise, they're not welcome. And you will see the trash industry, what happens over the next year, and some of the rates that you have referred to will be changing. Councilmember Herford.
Well, and you can't compare rates because some cities subsidize their trash rates. We could take our franchise fee, which Athens pays to the city, and we could put that into our rate structure. We could also adjust and do like South El Monte does, where they don't even charge the residents for trash pickup. They subsidize all the residential waste by having the commercial waste pay the bill. So, I mean, when you look at it, when we had the discussion about rates long ago, I mean, it was a balancing act because you don't want to overcharge business, and we did overcharge business. We have higher business rates so that we could keep the residential rates lower. That was part of the decision, and then the number of cans you have and all that stuff. So you just can't, look at a rate and say, Redondo Beach, I'm sure they're subsidizing it somewhere because they got to do the same service, and if they're doing it for $12, they're picking it up with trucks, they're taking it to the landfill, they're paying the same fees we are, or taking it to a MRF, so it can't be that much difference.
Councilmember Sykes.
Redondo Beach is serviced by the same company that services us, Athens.
And I'd like to have Dennis explain.
And I think what was said, Councilmember Sykes, is that you need to make sure South El Monte, the residents pay $0. So I guess when you compare Athens, which is the South El Monte contractor, they have the lowest rates in the United States. The city of Irwindale, which is Athens, they pay $0. The city of Athens has to pay the city, which it comes from the taxpayers. 10% of the bill is a franchise fee that comes to us. It's a direct pass-through on top of integrated waste management fees and AB 939 fees. So it's just like gasoline. Sometimes the government wants to lower gasoline, but it's their taxes they put on gasoline that is affecting us at the pump. Okay, I'm just making sure you do realize almost $3 of our rates come to this general fund that funds these city staff. If you're ready to do an additional $1.6 million in cuts, I have tried to cut the franchise fee down to $0. If you're willing to join me and do more cuts and lay off more people, I challenge you, because I'd rather not take it from them and cut the franchise fee to $0. Not get AB 939 money, which I believe we have currently in the AB 939 fund. We have $262,597. I mean, we get all these weird, quirky funds, and it's just like the PEG access money that everyone always wants to spend, but it comes from the people. So it's coming off your charter bill. You pay $3 extra. In this case, you pay $2 or $3 extra. You pay actually closer to $3 extra. So if the rate is $27, our rate's actually $24, and the city has taken $3 more. That's why we, many years ago, separated out on your bill you get at your home. It says the franchise fee and everything else separated, because I thought it was unfair to say their rates were high when, like I said, 10% of all that money, actually 10.5% of all the money was coming to us. It's unfair to say their rate's high when 10.5% of it's ours. So we separated it out on your tax bill, and that's how you see it to this date. You will see the lines lined out. But I challenge you, I'm ready, please, take it down to $0. If that's a motion, I'll second
it. Mayor, we're asking for the evergreen clause.
You also talk about lowering rates. So
that could come in time, but right now we don't have an option.
Andy,
okay.
For the next council meeting, can we agendize reducing or Mother, may I, taking the franchise fee down to $0? And the AB 939 fee and the integrated waste management fee. We'll see where everyone stands.
Anyway, my proposal was simply to take a look at the evergreen and withdraw the evergreen clause. And as you said, they still have deep into 2020 before we can do anything else. And all I'm saying is let's try to do a countdown. The world's going to be quite different technology-wise in a lot of ways by the time that happens, because the previous council put them in place for a long time. So this is just to try to get a countdown to get close. Maybe by the time 2020, whatever comes around, Anthers might be the only game in town, or even better, it might be the best game in town. But all we're asking for at this time is just to deal with the evergreen clause. Thank you.
Councilwoman Sanderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question is at this time, because I have nothing that says how calling the rolling contract will reduce costs. I think if anything, it's going to increase costs, because then they're not going to be able to get the financing from the banks and what they do need, and that's what I haven't heard. So that's where I'm understanding what you're saying, but it's not making sense, because I'm not seeing how it will reduce our citizens' rates, where Mayor Toohey actually made more of a point, and if it's a Mother May I, I'm actually interested in that, because maybe we can find a way to reduce the residents' rates, and I would be in favor of that, doing it that way. So with that, I kind of, would look forward to that idea, and maybe that will help better the residents' costs. So.
Motion to receive and file.
I'll second.
Moved and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
3-1. The next item on the agenda was from me requesting the city to bring back a report on providing buying a HUD home out there for homeless veterans. It's a brand-new program, I believe it's called vethunters.org, and where we can use our housing set-aside, again, restricted money when we're allowed to spend the restricted money, I believe. The housing set-aside funds, I know you hear a lot about funds. I believe that has approximately $3 million in it right now. I know we're waiting for what happens on the balance because the state of California, even though everyone says it wasn't taken, the state of California took $8 million more dollars out of that fund that is owed back to us. They have to pay back by law shortly. I don't know what happens since it was paid back when redevelopment was legal. I believe the money's been deemed that it's actually owed to us. So if we can look at possibly buying a HUD repo home, when HUD repo allows cities to buy normally at 50% below the repo cost. So if the government takes back a home at $200,000, they normally will sell to a governmental agency for $100,000. We can look at possibly doing that with vethunters.org. They were kept showing, highlighted on KTLA Channel 5, working with our American Legion in our city who made a donation to the program. So if we can look at bringing that back, Councilwoman Sanderson.
Well, first of all, if that is a motion, I will second that motion because I think this is something we need to spend, actually. The redevelopment agency, the tax increments that come in, 20% go into the housing that we have to spend on housing. Mayor Tui, you'd mentioned that there was $3 million in that funding. Is that correct, Mr. City Manager?
I believe there's, I think that's correct, but the money he's referring to is monies that were used to pay the state last year that they're going to have to pay us back.
Okay.
And so that'll have to go back into a restricted account or production of low moderate income housing.
Okay, and if we don't use these funds, they, what is the time period that it goes back to the county if we don't use our housing? Sorry.
I don't know, Tom, do you know that answer? I'm not sure of that one.
Well, there's typically hasn't been a timeline on that. The issue right now is current legislation says that money that's in the housing fund, the $3 million that we're talking about, goes over to the successor agency and then is to be used to pay obligations. That part's still a little bit up in the air whether they may leave that money for housing purposes, but as far as a deadline on spending it, there hasn't been one in place, certainly when redevelopment agencies existed, and I haven't heard of anyone being discussed right now.
So there's no time frame on the financing that it goes if you don't spend it in a certain period of time that doesn't go back? Because I read something about that a couple months ago.
The issue came up because people weren't spending the money.
Right.
I think there is some dialogue going on about trying to adopt some legislation to make sure the money's being spent, because there was some concern about that, but I don't know where that is right now in the process.
I know maybe the question can be answered separately, but maybe for the community, I see Mr. Chung standing there maybe having an answer to that question. Would it be okay, Mr. Mayor, if I ask?
I have no problem with that.
Okay. And the reason the point I'm trying to make is I appreciate Mayor Tui's bringing this forward because I do think we need to really focus on this item. Thank you, Mr. Chung.
Yes, currently state law requires that if monies become surplus, they have to be expended within 5 years. The legislation is currently going to be going through that, as mentioned, to see whether those same statutory provisions would still be in place. But the overall understanding of the legislators currently is that they would still like this money to be spent on a timely basis, so there would be timeframes that you would have to use this restricted money to increase and improve affordable housing, otherwise you would lose it.
And basically, that's our money, the city's money, that comes out of our tax increments for our projects, and if we don't spend it, does it go back to the county, or?
What happens that if it is declared surplus, it could go to the county housing authority. The interesting part is that we created a housing authority ourselves, so we would have to look to see what that,
How the law, yeah,
how
I think
that
we have a
works.
lot of things right now that are going to take some time to get some clarity on.
Correct.
And so I appreciate you coming forward and answering that question for me. Thank you very much.
And what's happening with a lot of those funds, as Chris would tell you, there's been some unique quirks because cities have built up so much money in their housing set-aside funds. You brought up today the housing set-aside funds and how affordable housing works. They're not given a free loan, as was stated by, I believe, John Shoemaker. That is not exactly how the loans are handled. What happens is if you keep your project affordable each year, we write off whatever portion you reduce the senior's rent on each unit that was reduced, and it's for 99 years. So if you take less money than you could get on a market. So the unit's worth $1,000 a month. You get $700 a month rent. The city of West Covina, through our housing set-aside, has subsidized $300 a month rent on 100 units. That does add up. But they don't get all the money waived. And if they have not kept that unit affordable, whatever year they don't keep that affordable, we can call our loan due and they have to pay it back. Again, not everything is always as you hear. It's 99 years affordability, and we're one of the very few cities that met all of our affordable housing and our inclusionary housing goals, which was with this money because we produce the affordable units. Some cities are sitting on $30 million, like the city of Irwindale. They only have, I'll make a joke, 4 residents, but they have $30 million. The City of Industries gives the county approximately $21 million a year for affordable housing, and that's why you see in downtown L.A., along the 101 freeway, they tore down that affordable housing project and built brand new ones. That cost the taxpayers of the county through the industry funds a fortune. But that's how they're building those units. All the money that industry set aside that was supposed to be built for affordable units in and around a 15-mile radius of the city of Industry has provided affordable housing for the city of Los Angeles, not in all the other cities. And that's a tragedy. They've gotten close to around $200 million now from the city of Industry, and none of it's gone to affordable housing. We've never gotten one dime from the industry funds that are made available. But I want to use housing set-aside funds. It is here, but I don't have my glasses. I think it's saying at the end of this, I ain't going to wear those glasses. People make fun of me. June 30th, 2012 fund balance. This document, our adopted budget, says we will have $3,904,137. So I'd like to talk about doing that. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay. We go to council members' reports, comments, anything, or any adjournments of any passing. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Are we going to go into closed session?
Yeah, we recess to close. Recess.
Well, you can adjourn this regular meeting and reconvene the special meeting.
We need to convene the city council meeting and
adjourn this regular meeting. The closed session is a special meeting that's called.
Okay. So reconvene the special meeting and convene the council meeting.
Adjourn the council.
Adjourn. Yes.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 And
We're
I should
adjourned
note that
upstairs.
it's for all the items that were listed on the special agenda for labor negotiations.